Hey there, hobby friends. King NASCAR here. Been wanting to do this for a long time. I've been wanting to tell some stories about my collecting adventures over the last 50 plus years of collecting. Got a lot of stories, but I want to tell one that's kind of ended recently. Finally, it took like 36 years for this story to finally come to a conclusion. But it involves a card called the 1989 Winter Circle Lee Petty without NASCAR on the back of the card. So let me give you a brief rundown of the 1989 Winter Circle set. It's a 45 card set, and it includes legends of NASCAR like Fireball Roberts, Fred Lorenzen, David Pearson, and so on. A lot of the legends. It's a really great set. It's, up until here recently in the last couple of years, it was a very hard set to find because, you had to go to like 9 different races because they were giving out the cards 5 at a time at these races to get a complete set. I mean, there were some sets out there that they issued that were complete in a binder. But overall, it's been a very tough set, just the regular set itself. But there's one card in there that's what I would say pretty elusive, and it's of course, the 1989 Winter Circle Lee Petty without NASCAR on the back. Now, what I mean by not having NASCAR on the back, let me show you the regular Lee Petty, and it's card number 1. And this is what it looks like right here. And if you notice, on the PSA flip, it says with NASCAR on back. So what that means, when I turn it over on the back, you see right here where it says NASCAR Career Highlights right there. The promo card or the sample card, I'm just going to call it the sample card, had no NASCAR there. It just said Career Highlights on the back. So what happened was Maurice Petty was behind this card. He was partnered with Winter Circle Auto Parts in North Carolina. And, of course, they were giving out these cards. It was basically a say no to drugs type program that they were giving these cards to kids for free. So before they even made the very first card or first set, they made this sample card of Lee Petty, card number 1. And on the back of the card, it was rumored that, and like I said, this was rumored because nobody had seen these. I hadn't seen them and didn't know anybody that had seen them in like 30 years. So anyway, it said Career Highlights on the back. And what they did with these cards, at least the intention was to give these cards to the decision makers at NASCAR to let them see the cards, do the touchy-feely, make sure, hey, these cards are going to be okay to give out to kids, and show them what the cards were going to look like. They were a sample, right? So come to find out that Lee Petty himself kept several of these cards. And like I said, they made 100, and there was an urban legend early on that said there was 150. But what we do know now, and I'll show you later, that there was 100 of these cards. So anyway, they gave these cards out to NASCAR officials and the higher-ups at NASCAR. And Lee Petty kept quite a few of them himself. He was very proud of them. He said, hey, here's my rookie card. He would go out and he would hand them out to people, like if he'd be out eating or he'd be out somewhere. He'd say, hey, here's my rookie card. And what people did? They looked at him and they go, whatever. And they just probably pitched them. They didn't care. So, I think that in itself, made them even more scarce. I mean, there was only 100 copies that we know of. So, and I think the NASCAR officials probably did that too. They either threw them in the desk or threw them in the trash. They said, okay, whatever. Well, it's Maurice Petty. He's a man of his word. We're going to let him make these cards. So NASCAR gave the approval. They made the sets. And for 30 years, at least for me, I never saw one of these cards. I've heard about it. It was in price guides. Never saw it. It was just, to me, it was like a big rumor because I thought, hey, these things don't exist. They must be like either a unicorn or, some kind of fable or something. Because, like I said, I didn't know anybody that even saw one of these cards at all. So I searched for this card, not super hard, but I searched for it for years and years. And I mean, it literally became 30 years because in 2019, I mean, it took it this long. I get a text from Val, my buddy who I do NASCAR radio with. And he said, hey, there's a Lee Petty no NASCAR card on eBay. We'd never seen one, had no idea what they look like. In fact, you know, we were wondering, hey, was this thing even real? Is this some kind of mock-up somebody did? So this was in like, you know, October of 2019. So I messaged the guy and try to make him an offer because I think he was wanting, I'm trying to remember how much he was wanting. It was like maybe $4,000 or something he was wanting for this card at the time. So then I think he took it off and put it back on. It was a cheaper price. And I eventually negotiated with this guy and I got the card for $1,500 is what I paid for it from this guy. So I got the card. It was in an SGC holder. It was an SGC 7.5. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of what that card actually looked like on eBay. As you can see, it was in an SGC holder, and those little blue circles are the differences that you see on the front of the card, of this card, versus the one that was the regular release. So anyway, it was a 7.5. I get it, and you know, no problem. I got it in the mail. So, of course, you know me. I want it in a PSA holder, right? So I contacted the president of PSA at the time, which was Steve Sloan. I said, hey, man, I'd like to send this card in and get it done in a PSA holder. Can you guys do this? And of course, I think they may have had a spec for it, but they were like me. There was none in the population. They had no idea what it even looked like. So when I contacted him, this was like, you know, the beginning of 2020. I'm trying to get on my timeline right here. So I sent it off to PSA. He took care of it for me. He got it graded. It came back a PSA 4. So I was actually at Val's house in North Carolina. We were at the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and I saw that my card was getting shipped back to me here in Memphis. So luckily I was getting home like a couple of days before it was supposed to be here. So I get home, and, you know, I'm really kind of chomping at the bit because, you know, really this has been 30 years in the making, finally getting one of these cards. And like I said, here, in fact, you know, I told you it was a PSA 4. Here's a picture of it that was in PSA's database. And as you can see, it was a PSA 4, and it's got a cert number on it. They have since deactivated the cert, and I'll tell you why. It was, I think, February 5th of 2020. It's like right before the pandemic hit. Okay, it's not far from that because the pandemic hit in March. I get a notification from the USPS that says, hey, your card is out for delivery. I'm all excited, can't wait. So at that time, you could hear the USPS truck coming down the street. So I knew because I'm upstairs here, I could hear it, you know, so I knew when they were coming. So on that day, it says out for delivery. I get this message, out for delivery. So that means, at least you'd like to think, hey, it's on the truck, right? So I run downstairs, and I asked our letter carrier, I said, hey, I'm sure you got something for me, a big package. Or not a big package, but a package. And she goes, no, I don't have anything on the truck for you. So I'm like, okay. I'm a little freaked out at the time, but I'm like, okay. She goes, maybe it'll be here tomorrow, and I have seen that before where you see something out for delivery, but you don't get it till the next day. I get it. So I waited till the next day. Nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing on the truck. So I'm pretty upset, you know, because this is like 30 years of looking for this card. And I go up to the post office, and the guy up there, he runs, I guess they show all the scans of these packages, I guess, getting loaded onto the USPS trucks, right? So he showed me, I saw the package that went through the system. So it got on the truck some way, somehow, but it never made it here. So I was very mad, very upset. They gave me the number of the lady who is the postmaster over this area. So I called her. And she's like, oh, yeah, we'll help you out. We'll find it. It's out there somewhere, blah, blah, blah. And I pretty much knew at that point that what I was saying was falling on deaf ears. Because you could just tell. I mean, you guys have been in conversations like that where you know somebody's just going, yeah, 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 and you know nothing's ever going to happen. Well, that's what happened here. Never heard back from her. Never heard back from anybody. I went back up there a couple of times to my local post office. Nothing. Just nothing. So, to me, the car's gone. So, I reported to PSA, and luckily I had it insured for what I paid for it at least. And in the long run, they cut me a check. I got a check back, but I would much rather have the freaking card than the money. Because, like I said, this was 30 years of looking for this freaking card. And everybody that I know just thought it was, it never existed. So, starting then, I started searching on eBay every day. Every day for this card. I went to all the local card shops, gave them a picture of it, told them about it, that if somebody comes up there looking to sell it, let me know. Nothing happened. So I'm searching again like every day for this card. And it's to a point where I told my son, I said, you're going to have to take up the search for this thing because I don't think I've got another 30 years in me to try to find another one. Because it was just very upsetting, very disheartening to me. Here's a card that I've been looking for that we thought was a unicorn that never really existed, that did exist. And it's like the only one that anybody knows of, right? So fast forward over 4 years, okay? The Petty brothers, which are Maurice's sons, it's Richie, Mark, and Timmy. They have their own YouTube channel, and they talk about all things petty. I mean, it's really a great channel. I love that channel. It's one of my favorite channels on YouTube. One day, they're talking about rare, petty NASCAR cards. And what do they have? They've got a couple of these 1989 Winter Circle Lee Petty No NASCAR cards. And I'm like, freaking out. I mean, I was freaking out. I was really freaking out. So I immediately messaged those guys, told them the story of what happened, how long I had been looking for that card, and what happened with the USPS losing, and I'm going to say that nicely, losing my card. So it took them about a month. They were busy, doing things for the 75th anniversary of the Petty family in NASCAR. So they were busy guys, but they did take the time to message me, and Richie said that they had talked amongst themselves, and they said that, hey, we saw your story. We'd like to help you out. We don't normally sell anything like this, but we will make you a deal on a card, on one of the Lee Petty cards. I'm like, oh my God, hallelujah. I cannot believe this. So I asked them, I said, hey, when can I come down there? This was in August of like 2024 when they released this video. So they told me, hey, you can come. It was like September 13th of 2024. You can, if you want to come here, you can get it, or we can ship it to you, whatever. I said, oh, no. I am driving from Memphis, Tennessee to Randleman, North Carolina, which is like over 700 miles to go get this card, right? So I got up on the 12th, drove, stayed with Val, then went to see the Petty brothers the next day. Val could not go. He had to work, unfortunately. So I got there, and They told me, I texted them. They told me how to get it, where to go. Knocked on the door, went in and met the Petty brothers. And I couldn't have met a more gracious group of people in my life as those guys. They welcomed me in like I was part of the family. They showed me around. They showed me a lot of Petty history, lots of memorabilia, lots of race used things. It was actually very incredible what I got to see, because they told me that they just don't let people come back there at all, to their shop at all. Never. So it was a rare opportunity just for me to get to do that. But they had a few of the Lee Petty cards, and they told me, like I said earlier, they said that, Lee, and they call him Lee Boy. They said Lee Boy would go around, like if he went to the diner or something, he would hand the waitress one of his cards saying, "Hey, this is my rookie card." And like I said, they looked at those things and they go, "Who cares?" And that's sad. But I think that just adds to the scarcity of this card, again, because there's only like 100 made. So they're showing me around, and they're showing me some paperwork and things. They actually showed me the packing slip, and here's a copy of it, of where they made 100 cards, for sample cards for Lee Petty to give out to the NASCAR officials and for Lee Petty to have. So there you have it right there. There's the proof that there was 100 of these cards made. So I haven't seen any of these cards, in 30 years. And I see this one, then over 4 years later, here we go. I've got a chance to get another one. So I worked with Richie. I talked with Richie a long time. I was there most of the day. The things that I got to see were absolutely incredible. Everything from helmets to fire suits to race used parts to rare memorabilia. Just it was fascinating to me, because those are the kind of things that I really, really love. So at the end of the day, he told me I could pick out which Lee Petty card I could have. And I picked out which one I thought probably looked the best at the time. They were all kind of off-center. So, like I said, I got my card. I brought a magnetic with me, and I slapped that thing in the magnetic, right then. I didn't want anything to happen to it. Again, they were so nice and so gracious. I love those guys so much. So I got my card. I was ecstatic to get the card. After being there most of the day, I left. It was kind of sad because I was having a fun time with it. So, I go back to Val, show Val the card and everything. I'm really excited to have this card. It's been, like I said, at this point in time, it's been over 34 years in the making to get this thing done. So, fast forward, I've got the card. Fast forward to this year's National. I am not putting this thing in the mail. I do not trust the USPS whatsoever. So I drive up, because we drive up to the National every year. So we drove up there. I had the card with me. On Wednesday, PSA opens up, to dealers, and I was able to get in there and drop off my card. So I dropped off Lee Petty with PSA. I'm like, okay, this is getting better. It's getting closer. I'm really excited, And I'm watching it, checking my orders online. And on Thursday, I think it was Thursday night, I see that it says this card is going to be shipped back to me. And I'm like, oh no, it's not going to be shipped back to me. I was pretty upset. In fact, I couldn't even sleep that Thursday night. So that morning I went up, I talked to Chris Carlin at PSA. He was looking into it. And then that night I saw Ryan Hogue at the PSA Set Registry dinner. And I told him this whole story that I'm telling you guys now, not as in much detail, but I told him this whole story. And he's like, show it to me on the PSA app. So I showed it to him, and he looked at it, and he said, it's got a grade, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, if it's got a grade, it's ready. That's a glitch in our system. I'm like, holy smokes. So very first thing Saturday, I get in there and I go get Lee Petty, and voila, here he is. Lee Petty without NASCAR on the back. And look at the back, and I'll show you. See where it says career highlights. And not only that, the paragraph here is a little bit different than on the production card, and they crop the photo differently. Maybe I can show you. You might be able to see it. I'll hold these up. Maybe you can see how, like his earpiece, you can see it on the one with no NASCAR. You can see the whole thing, whereas the production one, it's kind of lopped off a little bit. So they did crop the photo just a little bit different. But I was so relieved to have this card in my hand. It's like I'm not trusting anybody to ship it whatsoever. I don't want to go through this again, because it was, in a way, it was kind of traumatic to me. Because, as a collector, you look for these things. You spend your life, looking for, like, these whales, like white whales like this one right here. And to have it taken away from you, like mine was taken away from me. But in a way, it really worked out better, because I got to have this experience with the Petty brothers, and I got to see this history of the Pettys. And I got that whole experience. Plus, I got a card that, if you look at it, it's a PSA. This one's a PSA 6, as opposed to the other one that I had was a PSA 4, which has been decertified. So there's a population of 1, which is this card right here. There's a population of 1 in PSA's population. So, okay, now I've got the card. I just got to get it back here to the Stock Car Museum, right? So, show's over with, and I've got it. I'm holding it with me, literally. It's in my backpack the rest of the way. And I'm kind of like, checking every so often, make sure it's in my backpack. I've got it in a box, and making sure that this card is in my backpack. So we drive home, stopped and got White Castles on the way, of course. You know how I love White Castles. Got it home. It's here now. Didn't have to involve any shipping whatsoever. And Lord knows, I'm so relieved to have this card in my collection. This is by far my favorite card. This is the card I will never, ever get rid of. It is in its forever home. I love this card. And it's probably the most amazing collecting story I guess I could tell. So I'm starting out on a high note here. So I guess really, when you think about it, that is it for this card. Like I said, it's here. I'm very happy to have it home. So if you like this story, let me know in the comments. Because I'm planning on doing some more things like this. I got some funny stories. I've got some crazy stories. I've got some things that have happened over the years that are just amazing that have happened to me. I've had a great collecting career, if you want to call it that. So, like I said, let me know in the comments. And if you like it, like and subscribe. And I guess from the Stock Car Museum here, we will check you folks later. Thanks for watching.